In this video, I'm gonna show you how I made this wooden box and made it look like a Christmas present.
So let's go!
In order to get this Christmas present wrapping paper look, I'm going to be using 3/4 inch Baltic birch plywood to make this pattern plywood. I set my saw blade to 60 degrees and wrap my plywood to get a fresh cut at 60 degrees. I then moved over my table saw fence until it was cutting just outside my line I had marked. The line is exactly 7/8 inches away from the inside cut. After cutting my first strip, I checked to make sure it was exactly the same thickness as the plywood. It looks good, so I'm gonna make more strips. Next came probably the easiest glue up ever. I did use clamps sideways to make sure the two pieces of wood are correctly aligned. You can also use clamps, blue painter's tape, or even rubber bands to hold the two pieces together while the glue dries. Okay, so I have both of my sticks off the clamps. I'm gonna go ahead and cut these into 3 sections just to make it a little bit smaller. Then I'm gonna run them over on the table saw with the blade still at 60 degrees just to clean them up. And then we will cut them into smaller, like 1/2 inch hexagons, and then we'll proceed from there. The thickness of the hexagons are going to be 1/2 inch. This is going to be a rather small box, and I don't want the sides of the box to be thick. This is also going to give me more hexagons with less material. I use my crosscut sled to cut these hexagons, but there's plenty of different ways you can do this. Just use what you have available. I did get some small tear out using the table sled, but it was easy to clean off using some 80 grit sandpaper. Okay, so I did make me a little contraption here. Is basically melamine and 2 scrap pieces of wood on the side here. Make sure this corner right here is exactly 90 degrees, and it is. I have my pattern ready to go. I just need to add glue, and hopefully the glue makes these little cracks or gaps disappear, but we'll go ahead and do that now. While you guys are watching me glue this up, I wanted to say that this project is part of a YouTuber Secret Santa, where myself and 9 other woodworking YouTubers are building the gift box just like this one and sending them out to each other. I will have links to everybody's video down in the description so that you can see how everybody made the same thing but completely different. Also, wait until the end of the video so you can see who and what box I got from Secret Woodworking Santa. Now back to the build. I would recommend using some type of paste wax or masking paper under your pattern plywood to make sure it's easier for you to remove than it was for me. So a little update for you guys. Those hexagons that I cut on the table saw to kind of make them the same size and clean them up, I actually ended up screwing those up. They are all right here. They don't fit nicely. There's a lot of gaps in between them, and I can't use them. Luckily, I only did one of those sticks that I showed you guys earlier in the beginning. The other one was able to get glued up, and there's some gaps here and there, but it's not as bad as the ones that I had tried to fix on the table saw. So I'm gluing up another panel right now. It's actually right behind me there, another stick, and then we'll make another one of these panels. In the meantime, I am going to cut this panel to size, just trimming off all these excess pieces, and then we'll go ahead and mill down some walnut for the top and the bottom. My Makita track saw is probably my favorite tool in the shop, and I made quick work of trimming off the hexagons. I can then take the fresh straight cut from the track saw, put that against the wall on the table saw, and cut a parallel cut on the opposite side. I only have 3/4 inch walnut, and that would have been way too thick for the top and the bottom of this small box. Since I do not have a bandsaw to resaw wood, I used my table saw with the featherboard. It worked out just fine. I did have to sand it through the planer to get it flat again and to thin it down a bit more. All right, so I have a big mess in front of me. I have both my top and my bottom here. I also have my sides here. While I'm waiting for this to dry, I'm actually gonna try to do an inlay with pattern plywood. I have the design for the sides here that gives it the 3D effect, and I'm gonna try to inlay it in the top of the box that we're gonna be making. I set the inlay at top of the walnut where I wanted it to lay, and I just traced it out with a pencil. I follow that pencil mark with a marking blade to make sure the wood fibers would break. Also, if you're wondering what happened to the handle of my marking blade, that's one of our dogs. Apparently they like expensive walnut. I used a router to hog out most of the material, and then a chisel to define the lines and removing the rest. It's been a very long time since I used hand tools, so please go easy on me on the comments, or don't. Tell me how bad my hand tool skills are in the comments. My hand tool skills are so top notch that I really had to persuade the inlay to go in with a few gentle taps from a rubber mallet. Also, this inlay is going to pull double duty and is going to be the handle to open up this box, so it has to be on there nice and strong. Okay, so poor planning on my part. As you saw, I had two panels. This is one, this is the other one right here. And when I go put them together, unfortunately, they do not line up at the seams here. It is what it is. I can't fix it. It's a little bit too late now. Two corners do line up and they do continue from one side to the other. But just learn from my mistakes and make sure you cut all of your pieces from one complete panel instead of two different ones, especially when it's pattern plywood like this. Okay, so I just went ahead and I was trying to mess around with this, see if I could get it to work. I did get this. I just flipped this piece over. I got these two front pieces to line up, and then these two over here do not match at all. But I'm gonna go ahead and just go with the two front pieces that work with each other, and then the two back pieces are just gonna not match at all. I would rather have that, so kind of a fix, but not really. The bottom of this box is going to be sitting inside dados in the pattern plywood. So I just used my table saw to cut that out and move my fence over until the dado was thick enough to hold the bottom panel. I'm using Titebond 3 here. No particular reason why, I just had it so I'm going to use it. A quick note, I did not add any glue to the bottom panel, and the groove is just a little bit bigger than the bottom panel to allow for wood movement. I didn't think about gluing and clamping the miter corners ahead of time, so I ended up using blue painter's tape, but then I remembered that I had a strap clamp that would work for this. This is a 3/8 inch rabbiting bit, and I'm going to use it to make way for my walnut top. I set the depth to the thickness of my top, rabbiting out that section where the top would sit. If you guys are enjoying what you're watching, make sure you hit the like button down below. Also make sure you subscribe if you're not already. Share this with a friend or family member. It does help the channel grow when you share this with more people watch it. It doesn't cost you absolutely nothing. I would greatly appreciate it. With the circular cutting bit, it left rounded edges on my box. So I had two options. Chisel the rounded edges to make them square and fit the lid, or round the edges of the lid to fit the rounded corners. I chose to go with option number 2 to take a break from the straight lines and angles we have going on here. To hide the small gaps I had in the pattern plywood, I used wood glue and sawdust to make my own wood filler, allowing the glue to dry for 30 minutes before sanding it flush. I then worked my way through the grids of sandpaper using the pencil mark trick to make sure everything was sanded properly. For the finish, I went with spray-on polyacrylic. Not only is it easy to apply, but it's going to give me a good and durable finish. I did sand in between each coat with 220 grit sandpaper. So before I show you the end product, I did get my package. It looks like I got John Ford Woodworks. So we're gonna open up his package, see what he sent me, look at his version of this gift box, and then I'll show you the finished product and the one I did. Wow. Wow. I'm gonna give you a small close-up, but I'm gonna go ahead and link his video at the end of this video and in the description below. Make sure you check out his video so you can see how he made this box. This is really nice. I don't know what to say, thank you. But without further ado, let me go ahead and show you the end product on the one I just made.